So after killing someone's washing fun, tonight I'm going to talk about not killing. Just a light topic for your Sunday evening after the anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So this comes up in the Zen canon as one of the precepts, well, the first precept, Musessho Kai. Not killing, no killing, thou shalt not kill. So mu, not, setsu is kill, that's life, and kai, the precept. The precept of not killing life. So, of course, as everybody knows, doing a memorial for Hiroshima each year is very close to my heart. After all, I lived there and got to talk to survivors of the bomb, so it's pretty hard not to feel a deep connection after you're exposed to some of the stories of the survivors. So, as is me, I try and turn things into a positive. So let's examine this precept, which of course is not just common to Zen but also many other religious traditions, and try and make greater sense of it all towards a more firmer understanding of our moral position in the world. So, Scroll Patrol, well, it's not really, you wouldn't really find this in a tea room alcove. It might sort of kill the vibe of the gathering, but it's something that we should definitely meditate upon in our practice, because aspects of our tea practice and preparation for a tea gathering certainly can concern this, right down to who we invite to our gathering. So, Musessho Kai, thou shalt not kill, Scroll Patrol number 27. The commandment or precept, no killing, is a foundational moral principle across many of the world's major religions, reflecting a universal respect for life deeply embedded in the moral fabric of human society. In Christianity and Judaism, it is one of the 10 Commandments, clearly stated as thou shalt not kill in the Bible or Torah. Islam similarly holds life sacred, with the Quran emphasising that taking an innocent life is like killing all of humanity. Hinduism's concept of ahimsa, or non-violence, underscores the importance of preserving life in thought, word, and deed. In Zen Buddhism, the first precept, not killing, not only prohibits taking life, but also promotes a life of mindfulness, free from harmful thoughts, embodying compassionate guidelines that urge us to navigate concepts of right and wrong with wisdom. Zen approaches its precepts through 3 lenses: the literal, compassionate, and essential. Just as a side note, in the book The Mind of Clover by Robert Aitken, he talks about these, and these have been extremely helpful for my life and contextualising my moral stance in the world through literal, which is more or less a fundamental position, compassionate, which is more or less a practical, balanced stance, and the essential, which is the more cosmic, universal way of looking at things. So I'll talk about them now. The literal view emphasises strict non-killing, but this can become impractical, as seen in extreme practices like Jainism, where adherents filter water to avoid consuming and therefore killing microscopic life forms. This strict adherence assumes a clear distinction between the animal and vegetable worlds, a trap to which strict vegetarians and vegans are also vulnerable. went through this for many years, from the time I was 16 until I was in my mid to late 20s. It's impossible to evade the natural order of things, where everything exists in symbiosis. While the literal interpretation has its place, it can become impractical, highlighting the need for a more balanced understanding of the precept. The compassionate view acknowledges the cycle of life, focusing on nurturing all beings while understanding the complexities of moral decisions. This is where the rubber hits the road. It recognises that life and death are interconnected, but it also emphasises the importance of moral guidelines in navigating this cycle. This view engages directly with ethical dilemmas. For instance, some people may extend no killing to mosquitoes. Perhaps you get up in the middle of the night, catch the offending mozzie and release it outside. I used to. But what if you're visiting a country where there's an increased risk of mosquito-borne diseases like malaria, dengue or yellow fever? I killed a lot of mozzies in Zimbabwe and Ghana. The essential view transcends the literal and compassionate interpretations by recognising the ultimate emptiness of life and death. As expressed in the Heart Sutra, there is no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death. Or, to bring it back home, there is no mosquito and killing, and also no end of mosquitoes and killing. Similarly, Takuan Zenji tried to justify the reality of Warring States period samurai by reasoning that essentially there is no one killing, no killing, and no one to be killed. The peace of infinite emptiness pervades the universe. That was a quote. There is no one killing, no killing, and no one to be killed. The peace of infinite emptiness pervades the universe. As you can imagine, it would have justified a bit of killing on the battlefield. But as Robert Aiken points out, if there is no sword, no swing of the sword, no decapitation, then what about all the blood? What about the wails of the widow and children? Absolute views can detach us from reality and omit the nuances and suffering that shape our lives. Our practice of tea reminds us that the profound peace found in tranquility is deeply connected to the everyday suffering we encounter. Few events have forced humanity to confront the cosmic consequences of its actions and the profound significance of personal suffering as powerfully as the creation of the atomic bomb. As Oppenheimer anticipated nuclear war, he used the words of Baudelaire: "That which we generally call life, even when it is fullest and happiest, has nothing in common with that supreme life with which I am now acquainted, and which I am tasting minute by minute, second by second. No, there are no more minutes, there are no more seconds. Time has disappeared. It is eternity that reigns now." As you can see, he was contemplating the moral implications through an essential view. After witnessing the first successful test of the atomic bomb, Oppenheimer famously quoted the Bhagavad Gita: "Now I become death, the destroyer of worlds." The quote comes from a moment in the Gita where Lord Krishna reveals his divine universal form to the warrior Arjuna, emphasising the inevitability of destruction in the cosmic cycle of life and death. The Supreme Lord said, "I am mighty time, the source of destruction that comes forth to annihilate the worlds. Even without your participation, the warriors arrayed in the opposing army shall cease to exist." If there is no sword, no swing of the sword, no decapitation, then what about all the blood? What about the wails of the widow and children? Oppenheimer's use of the quote has been seen as both an acknowledgement of this participation in a world-altering, catastrophic event and a reflection of the burden he felt for his role in creating the atomic bomb. What would you do? I lived in Hiroshima for 3 years. My tea sensei, Japanese language sensei, homestay family, and many tea friends were hibakusha. Hibakusha is the term for atomic bomb survivors. I heard many stories about that day and the events that followed the nuclear... that's always hard. I heard many stories about that day and the events that followed the nuclear furnace that both scarred my psyche, as you just saw, and blessed me with a deep commitment to peace. Hibakusha rarely speak of that day, but when they do, their words stop time, filling the air with a tragic hope that forever changes you. I didn't think I'd get like this. I vividly recall my Japanese teacher's story of his neighbour, whose newborn had melted onto her side in the heat of the blast. With her infant still fused to her side, she died with blood poisoning. My tea sensei told of her uncle, who offered the last of his tea to his deceased family with a charred chasen, only 3 of its tines remaining after the firestorm. The bomb was considered very inefficient, with only 1.7% of its material fissioning. A little bit more and the blast would have erased the Ueda Soko school of tea from history. All these things we know now, after the fact. The crucial footnote to the 10 Commandments, or the Zen precepts for that matter, is that one's moral character is decided by how they respond to the perceived, but ultimately unknown. It's one of the key points, so I'll say it again. The crucial footnote is that one's moral character is decided by how they respond to the perceived, but ultimately unknown. This delicate balance between perception and uncertainty reveals a profound human vulnerability, challenging our ability to navigate the moral landscape with wisdom and integrity. People go to great lengths to avoid making difficult decisions. Who's guilty? Yet, entrusting these conundrums to others is itself a moral choice, carrying its own weight and consequences. Vaccine passports and health passes just brought this into full view. And perhaps robot armies and AI are the next event horizon. Channa Yu makes us aware of our mutual vulnerabilities and turns them into a call for connection, not further separation. Objectifying other human beings according to race, religion, gender, nation, political persuasion, etc., deceives us into justifying bombing our brothers and sisters. True self-realisation opposes violence. Harming others perpetuates violence and is therefore self-destructive. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. The moral posture of T is thus a more efficient way of avoiding lethal conflict and stifling the harmful thoughts which result in catastrophe. We just don't know how long and how much tea it will take. True practice is rooted in the present, where spiritual insight meets the reality of life. Through practices like tea, we learn to transform violent thoughts and harmful patterns, fostering understanding and peace within ourselves and towards others. On a larger scale, nations, like individuals, must confront their own greed, hatred and ignorance. War is not inevitable. We can only thrive and enjoy peace if others do as well. In today's world, living by the precept of no killing, or thou shalt not kill, is not just a personal commitment, but a political necessity. I take up the way of not killing. Splitting the atom unleashes death on a massive scale. Chopping wood releases the warmth that sustains us. May the need to eliminate bugs in my home never breed a mindset of killing. And when others violate me, may they steal my inexhaustible empathy.